In this video, I'm going to explain exactly, as a manager, on how to delegate work, responsibilities and tasks to your team members so they're done to your total and utter satisfaction, on time and to the right standard. No, it's not quicker to do it yourself. Let's get that right from the start. It is not quicker to do it yourself. You need to think about this as a long-term exercise, because if you keep doing it, what's the point of you having a team? So it's time to step up, it's time to let go, it's time to empower your team, give them responsibility and support they deserve and require. A lot of people complain, their managers, well, they just don't give me stuff. They just hoard it all themselves. They're complete control freaks. Don't let your people say this about you. So these techniques in delegation will give you the confidence and the competence for you and your team to be effective. So there's 8 areas I've looked at here for delegating well. And the first one is for you to sit on a regular basis whilst you're thinking about all the tasks you've got to do. And this is a very important question that underpins everything that we talk about. Should I be doing this? So every task you touch, you need to think, should I be doing this? Is this a good use of my time? Is the answer yes? Okay, prioritise it, crack on and schedule it into your work. If the answer is no, we need to therefore delegate it. You can't do everything. If you end up doing your people's work for them, you become an expensive whatever they are. And your manager will start to think, well, why am I employing you as a manager if you end up doing all their work for them? That isn't what managing is about. Managing is about facilitating and enabling people to be effective in their work. The second thing you need to think about is obviously who has the ability and the capacity to take this work on. Now, if you've trained people, if you've sat down in one-to-ones and thought about delegating and who should be doing what, if you've sat down and thought about a skills matrix, who can do what activities, that's good planning. If you haven't, it's going to be a bit of a problem. But hopefully you've already worked out who has the ability and the capacity to take this on. If you haven't, we need to move to step 3. So it may be there'll be times where you think, should I be doing this? Have they got the capacity or the ability? No, they haven't. Okay, right, I'm going to have to do it this once, but then I'm going to sit down and train people on how to do this task. In perhaps a one-to-one, it could be a team meeting, it could be in an appraisal, but you've really got to then think, yeah, I can't keep doing this task. I've really got to find the time to obviously train people up to do this activity or this task so I can pass it over to them on a regular basis. Because if you don't make this move, guess who ends up doing it? Guess who ends up working all hours? Guess who ends up getting stressed? Guess who ends up with too much to do? You've got to enable your people, you've got to train and develop them. So that's step number 3. Step number 4, you've got to explain and brief them what's expected. So we come to our favourite friends. What's expected of them in this task? What needs to be done? Why it needs to be done, what's the purpose of this activity, when it needs to be completed by, who is it for, and who can they get assistance from? They don't always have to come back to you. Perhaps someone else in the team can train them to do it. So start thinking a little bit, broader across your team. Who can train each other on these tasks? Where do we need to be by a certain stage if it's quite a lengthy piece of project work, for example? Where do we need to be by the end of the week or next week? Because we've got to then go and talk to other teams. And how, in what format, does this task need to be done? Does it need lots of detail? Does it need to be very high level? How does this information need to be delivered? So explain exactly what is required, why it needs to be done, when it needs to be done by. Let's ban as soon as possible. Give people timelines. Who's it for? Who they can get assistance from? Where they need to be by a certain stage and how it needs to be delivered. So step number 5 is don't say to them, do you understand that? Is that okay? Because all they're going to do is look at you and go, yes. And then they're going to go off to their work, to their laptops, and think, oh God, what is it I've got to do? Get them to talk through the stages and the steps that they're going to do with this piece of work. Get them to think for themselves. Perhaps you need a bit of guidance if they're not particularly experienced. But otherwise, ask them, okay, so we need this by Thursday. How are you going to deliver that? Who do you need to speak to? Why will you do it that way? Get them to talk about the process that they're going to go through. So then you know that they're capable of doing this, and you're not going around telling them what to do all the time. Get people to think for themselves. They'll thank you for it. And you'll get people to perform so much better because they're having to think and use their own judgment. So ask them, don't just tell them. I do appreciate if they're new or perhaps they haven't got the experience. When you brief them, yeah, you've got to tell them exactly what's needed. But otherwise, try and ask them. Try and take on more of a coaching style of management rather than just telling people what to do. Number 6, very importantly, is agree. When to check in. Okay, you go and work on that for 3 days, and then we'll catch up at 10 o'clock on Thursday morning, and we'll see where we're up to, because we've got an end date for the following Thursday. So they know exactly what's expected. Yeah, and you're providing them support. Don't just say to people, right, go and get this done and send it to me by next Thursday, because it turns up on your desk or in your email box and you think, well, that isn't what I wanted. Well, that's because you haven't given them any support. So it's great to see that you're still with me on this, and for that, in the link box below, there's a wonderful document that you're going to really like for yourself and for your people. It's all about everything you need to know to take your personal development to the next level. So on completion of any task that you've delegated, give praise and feedback. Thank them. That's really good. Thanks very much for that, obviously, if it's gone well. But also feedback, and get them to talk how they went through it. What did they find challenging? What did they find particularly difficult? Was there any people that they had to go and talk to? How did they manage that? And also then you can explain, look, thank you for doing this. I'd like this to make this part of your future responsibilities. So you've done a good job now. I'd like you to take this on in future. Naturally, if it hasn't gone quite so well, you've got to ask yourself, have you done enough check-ins? Did you explain it well enough? And did you provide enough support during the process? So go and have a look at yourself before you start pointing the finger at them. And then, obviously, if they haven't done what they should have done, you need to guide them for the future. So number 8, thank them. And then, plan in. What else can you delegate? And for you to constantly sit there and think about, when you're doing your planning, your reviews, your reflection time, should I be doing this? And if there's tasks that you feel that you're getting bogged down in because you should really be working at a higher level, it's a really good time to think, what else should I be delegating? Can I do that straight away? Do I need to give them training, support in one-to-ones or team meetings or appraisals whenever the time is appropriate? But make sure you've got a plan for all of this. Your team will thank you for it, and you'll be developing them well, so you can get on with even more sexy and exciting things from your managers or other directors. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe, please like, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.